After a surprise delay, N-Night have finally released patch number 6 for Sons of the Forest. This one includes some really awesome stuff: hard survival mode, stone building, custom effigies, and a load more. If you are a fan of Sons of the Forest, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video. Let's jump in and check out the patch notes for patch number 6. Hey everyone, this patch adds new stone pickups and the ability to build stone structures. We've also added custom effigies, a first pass of the hard survival mode, and a bunch of cooking improvements. As always, please continue to post your bug reports and the feedback in the discussions area of the community hub. Now, if you don't know where that is on Steam. The link is in the description if you do want to check it out and you are having any issues. Also, join the Discord, that is in the description too. Now, before we delve deeper, I do want to mention that the next update is in 27 days and 6 hours. So the next update isn't for another 4 weeks. Hopefully, this update contains some absolute mammoth changes, along with potentially some new content. That'll be very good. This update, bringing in that stone building aspect, is brilliant, and people and the community are going to make some absolutely stunning builds with that. There's already some stunning builds out there with the wooden creation options that we've got, so being able to add stone into that, it's going to be beautiful, and I can't wait to see it. So the main features are, as I've just mentioned, the hard survival difficulty mode. Stone pickups have been added to the world. We can now build stone fireplaces, stone walls, stone beams, and stone columns, along with custom effigies, and an advanced log sled will now hold logs, rocks, stones, sticks, and bones. Now there's loads of improvements and a whole host of bug fixes once again, along with some balance changes, with a smaller number of bug fixes and audio fixes this time, coming in at just under 40. So not too bad. Still a hell of a lot. Now these guys are smashing out these updates, especially when it comes to fixes. They are hot on the fixes and they push out hot fixes quite regularly. I'm very happy that they decided to delay the update. The reason that they delayed it was there was a game-breaking bug with the stone building system. So it's good that they delayed it rather than pushing out a piece of crap and potentially upsetting the community. I know myself would rather wait a day or so, even a week, for a better update that works perfectly well rather than something that is completely fucked. So for the improvements, there is loads and loads of improvements here. We'll go through these and have a little bit of a look. They've added countdown clocks to the dining area of the food and dining bunker, blown apart limbs added to exploded bathroom in bunker luxury. Wow. The cooking pot and flask will now be dumped out with the right mouse button. So if you do want to empty it, just tap right mouse button and then that will empty. The cooking pot will now be placed on the fire immediately if the player is holding the pot whilst interacting with the fire. If a fire is broken while the pot is cooking, the pot contents will reset back to water and the recipe is retained if the pot was done cooking when the fire is destroyed. They've also added water improvements to the pot when it is not boiling. There's also been visual and audio improvements to steady water drip effects in caves. Improvements and fixes to the lava sound and visuals. Added thunder sounds to lightning strikes in Space City view of the Gold Room cutscene. Now, if you don't know what that is the end game cutscene. So if that sounds confusing to you and you haven't actually got to end game, when you get there, you'll understand, but you'll still be confused. Raincatcher will no longer show the refill icon until there is at least enough water for one drink. The pot can now be re-added to the fire, even if it has a completed recipe in it, which is great. I did find the pot thing a little bit frustrating, but being able to leave it on your actual fire at home, I think, is a good idea. Fish caught in traps will no longer go rotten. Fish traps now run in game time instead of real time to work better with the game when pausing and sleeping. They've also added loading hint for cooking bonuses, loading hints for comfort rating and sleeping indoors versus outdoors. The hotkey UI will no longer show up in the quick select and grab bag menus and will only be visible when in your inventory. There's been a lot of overhauls to the general cooking system and the UI around it, just to make things look and feel a lot better, so that is good. The cannibals will now sometimes drag dying friends away from players. General optimizations to reduce AI update costs, and Kelvin will now pick up stones, fill the log sled with stones, sticks, rocks, and stones, reduced some oversaturated animal spawn areas and spread them out a little bit more. They fixed dead bodies in the beach cave floating in multiplayer games when the host is not in the cave, and player effigies cause fear to cannibals now based on the number of body parts on said effigies. Spearing multiple fish will visually stack on spear instead of overlapping. And finally, AI are no longer blocked by defensive stick spikes, but still take damage. Now, with balancing, they've done a decent amount of balancing, which is going to make things a little bit tougher. Now, for sleeping outdoors, will now give you less rest than sleeping indoors. The amount of rest that is gained by a player will now be modified by current comfort rating. So certain soups, clothing can all affect your comfort rating. So I like that they're branching into this more hardcore survival aspect of the game. I like that a lot. They've also lowered the chance of medication that you can get from crates, and large demons can now sometimes appear above ground after endgame. Dude, what the hell? That's going to be insane. Lumberjack juice recipe has been reworked so it's easier to make in peaceful games, and they've added a hard survival start to difficulty settings. Cooking buff durations have been changed from 8 hours to 4 in-game hours, and hard survival. For the hard survival, they've reduced food spawns in crates, no item storage crate respawn on a load in the game mode, lowered fish and animal spawns, and decreased target health and stamina regen speeds whilst cold. They've also increased the penalty for raw and rotten meats. Now, it doesn't say too much here about the AI in hard survival mode. So whether the hard survival mode is more focused on the actual survival of your character, so obviously taking into account the cold, taking into account all the food and drink and the buffs that you get from those, or whether the players will receive more damage from enemies or not. It does seem like it is just focused around the eating, drinking, sleeping and general survival of the game, rather than those combat elements, which I think is quite a different way to go. So now we're not just going to see beefy enemies that absolutely batter the shit out of you. The enemies are the same, but you're just going to have to put a lot more time into actually surviving, which is very cool. I like that, and it sounds good. Hopefully it performs well. With regards to this next update that is going to be in a month. Now, the 3-week update didn't really bring too much in terms of new content. It was quite cool. There was a load of random little bits in there, especially when it came to the cultists, and I think that was the one where they... that was the one where they added the big boss fight and demon. So, to be fair, that was a big chunk. Now, whether they're going to add more story elements, yet to be seen. I have mentioned a lot about the story recently in a previous video that I did. I'll put the link to that in the description below, where I do believe that they added too much of the story in at once. So, whether we'll see some storyline changes or just some major improvements to new enemies being added or new ways to get around. But we'll see. I'm curious. What do you think the next update could be? Let me know down in the comments below. I do think it'd be great if we had some sort of devlog, but obviously they're smashing out the updates relatively quick, so it's not really something that's needed, but I think a roadmap or just seeing what the team's working on would be quite cool. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from me. Hopefully you've all enjoyed today's video and it has helped. If it has, please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you do want to support us a little bit further, consider becoming a member. If you don't know, we cover Sons of the Forest here every Thursday at 9 PM UK time. So join us on Thursday next week with a little bit of a random one. I've got something fun that I'm going to try. Hopefully it works, but we'll see. Join us then. For now, I've been Wired. You guys have been awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon with some more Sons of the Forest.